Hi, this is David with David's Tutorials, and today I'm with you for another walk and talk. I'm going to just have a little bit of conversation with you today, and at the end I'm going to tell you how I got some free coffee, and I think you can too. First, a little bit of conversation. It's kind of a cloudy day today, it's an overcast day, and sometimes people think that's kind of a gloomy day. But I don't think so, because what it does, it gives us really good light. I don't know if you can tell right now, but there's not a lot of really bright light, nor are there some dark highlights. Hopefully this light will give us some good highlights and shadows without being too bad either way. As you can probably tell, I enjoy making videos better for you. Plus, you get to see a little bit of the neighborhood where I live. Right now I'm going to be walking down the side yard from one of my neighbors, and you can see some of the azaleas that they have here. They're just beautiful. Unfortunately, over the last few days, we've had some rain, and the rain has made these plants not quite as beautifully flowered as they would ordinarily be if it had been dry weather, but they're still very nice looking. Anyway, let's talk about coffee. It's now April 2019 as I make this video. And since January this year, I have made 3 trips to North Carolina to visit my sister who is in a condition that she needs visiting. Anyway, along these trips, in the morning time, if it's before, say noon, I generally like to travel with coffee. Now when I travel, I pretty much always keep a glass of liquid handy, because as you're going along the road and you get a little thirsty, it's nice to be able to just take a sip now and again. In the mornings, I like that liquid to be coffee, and in the early afternoon, I will drink my unsweetened iced tea. And by the way, I haven't put up the video on my cold brew tea yet, but I'm planning it. Matter of fact, I've been planning that video for just about a year now, collecting B-roll and other pieces and clips here and there, and I think you're really going to like that one when it comes out. And in the late afternoon, anytime after about 3 p.m., I will just drink water, because number one, I like water, and number two, it has no caffeine in it, so it's not going to keep me up later at night. In any case, we have liquid with us when we travel, both my wife and myself. And when that liquid is coffee, I will generally have coffee that I prepare from wherever I'm staying. Usually when I start from home, I make the coffee at home, and of course that's the best coffee I can find anywhere, just because if it wasn't the best, I would go find a different kind of coffee and make that coffee instead of what I am making. Now, a mug of coffee lasts usually 1.5 to 2 hours, which is just right for me, because that's about the amount of time that I will need before I have to take some sort of a rest break. In any case, I have found that I don't like the smaller cups of coffee, because then I run out of coffee before I'm ready to stop. So I bought one of these insulated tumblers, and that insulated tumbler is 24 ounces. Now 24 ounces of coffee is a lot of coffee, but when you're traveling, it'll last anywhere between 1.5 hours and 3 hours, depending on how fast you drink it. And of course, sometimes that depends on how hot it is when you put it in the tumbler. If it's an insulated tumbler like this one, it'll last and stay hot a good long time. Now when you go into a fast food joint, for example, and you ask for a coffee, generally it's going to cost you more than $1, or if you're a silver hair like me, you can ask for a senior coffee, and sometimes that will cost you anywhere from nothing all the way up to less than $1, but always the senior coffee is a very small cup. Now I didn't want a small cup, I wanted a larger cup, and I figured, well, it's worth it to me to pay more money to get a larger cup of coffee, which will last me longer on the road. So I had this 24-ounce tumbler with me, and I figured, why not ask? So I took that tumbler with me into a Bojangles restaurant in North Carolina, which is where I was at the time, and I said, is it okay if I get coffee in my own mug? And they said, sure, no problem. Well, okay, great. So I'm going to get 24 ounces of coffee as a refill. And when I went up to the cashier there said, that'll be 43 cents, please. And I go, okay, that's a bargain. 24 ounces of coffee in my own mug for 43 cents. Yeah, I like that. Well, I just happened to go back to that very same Bojangles the very next day, and it was a different cashier, and that cashier charged me 63 cents. I mean, no big deal. It's still a bargain, right? Well, okay, a couple of days later, I was traveling and I was in Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee to be exact, and I had run out of coffee and I decided I wanted a refill, so I saw Bojangles and I stopped and I said, can I get coffee in my own mug? And they said, sure, go ahead. And I got coffee in my own mug, 24 ounces of it. I dressed it up with some creamer and I had my sweetener with me, and I took it to the cashier and the cashier said, well, no charge, you had your own mug. Okay, not a problem. I like that. So, free coffee. Now, what I have found since then, and this is something that's important, is that when you're traveling, if you want coffee, number one, bring your own mug with you. If you have your own mug, then you can ask, always ask, don't just go ahead and do it. Ask if you can get coffee in your own mug. Chances are they'll say yes. The next thing, don't assume it's going to be free. Always offer to pay. But what I have found is that the convenience stores, usually the kind that are attached to a gas station, number one, they sometimes have much better coffee than a fast food joint. Number two, they will have different varieties of coffee, a lot more than a fast food joint. Fast food joints will generally only have one kind of coffee. Sometimes they'll have two kinds of coffee. Rarely will they have more than that. And unless you get there nice and early in the morning, you might find that the coffee in the fast food joints is really overbrewed. In a convenience store, for some reason, it seems, the places I've stopped anyway, the coffee is fresher, and there are usually several different types of coffee from which you can pick, from the lighter roast up through the darker roast, and of course they have all these different kinds of names for coffee that I'm not an expert on yet. Maybe I'll become one, who knows. But the coffee that they have there is usually better, and they are much more likely to offer it to you either at a reduced price or even free at a convenience store rather than a fast food joint. Now, a fast food joint, they belong to usually some sort of corporate headquarters, and they are much more likely to have a corporate policy on the cost of coffee in your own mug. In any case, you bring your own mug with you when you're traveling. You always ask, may I get coffee in my own mug? And when they say yes, always offer to pay. And what I like to do is, after I get the coffee and they say it's free, no problem, no charge, it's in your own mug, or it's 63 cents or whatever it is, just say, oh, wow, that is great. Thank you so much. Always be grateful. It never hurts to be grateful, and it can do some good at times. Finally, would you like to have free coffee? Would you appreciate having a business that gives you this kind of a deal where it's coffee either for free or a buck or less than a buck? If so, then you need to help keep these businesses in business. Buy something from them. Even if it's only a bottle of water or some sort of carbohydrate-laden processed food snack, buy something from them, help keep them in business. So now you know how you can get free coffee or low-cost coffee, less than a buck, while you're traveling or even close to home. If you do this, then be a good citizen, help support the store. Also, be a good citizen and give us a good old thumbs up here on YouTube so the YouTube robots know that you like this video. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below to let us know what kind of coffee you found, where you found it, and how much it costs. Finally, if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of the subscribers to my channel. And if you're not a subscriber, why not go ahead now and click that old subscribe button and then the bell icon to be notified whenever we post another great tutorial right here on David's Tutorials.